Okay. We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. We have a guest that will lead us in the pledge, Mr. Dennis Renier, who has recently retired from the Director of Parks and Recreation. We're glad to have him visiting with us today. So Dennis, if you'll come up to the front, we'll all stand for the pledge to the flag.
Justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Have a roll call, please.
Keith Bratcher.
Here.
Joe Crowell.
Here.
Linda Dansby.
Present.
Joe Machado.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Tony Webb.
Yep.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We do have a quorum and all voting members are present.
Okay, all regular members are here. We'll be voting on the items that come before us. We have one item, in case someone's here for this, that's been deferred until next month. That's the Kevin Buck at Double Springs Road. That is deferred. So we have two items to go through today. But before we get to those, we have the minutes correction of Wednesday, February the 10th. You have that was mailed out to you. Do you see any changes, any corrections to the February meeting minutes? Okay. Do we have a motion they be approved as mailed?
Mr. Chairman, no minutes were mailed to this member and myself.
Oh.
They were mailed. They may not have been received. I do have a copy here if you'd like to review them.
You don't have a copy of the February meeting minutes? Okay, this incorporated the changes that you asked for, Linda, last month. In your memory, does anybody have anything else they want to add to that or changes? Okay. We'll get you a copy of those, but we probably need to go ahead and approve them as
I'll
amended.
make a motion as amended.
Okay, we have a motion that be approved as amended. Do we have a second? Got a second, Tony. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. They are approved. Now you have the minutes of this past month. You don't have that.
Sir, they were mailed together, so if they didn't get the first one, they wouldn't have gotten the second one either. We may want to defer that until next month.
Okay, you want to wait until we get those in hand before you?
They were not in a manila envelope. They were just in a small white envelope.
I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pass these around, let you all take a look at them, and we'll deal with this after we get through our agenda items. So look that over and make sure we don't have any errors in that. Okay, the first item of business is a request by CNC Lawn and Landscaping Supply Company, and this is located on Lebanon Highway, and they're requesting a conditional use permit to allow the establishment of landscaping business, and this is in a commercial zone. What do you have on it?
Application 2010-008 filed by CNC Lawn and Landscape Supply Company involves a property located at 5830 Lebanon Highway. This property is located in the Jack Black's Commissioner's District. It's a 2.4 acre parcel that is zoned commercial. It was zoned commercial in 1972, though specific uses were not expressed for the site. So that is why the applicant is coming before you, because a lawn and landscape business has not been approved for this particular site. They have indicated that their hours of operation will be Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6, and during busier seasons, spring and fall, they will also open on Sundays, 10 to 4. They will not have, they are not proposing additional employees at the moment. It will just be the applicants, Chris Appleton and Chad Simpson, that will be working the property. They will actually have a dump truck on site that will be available for deliveries of mulch and materials. They are leasing a portion of this 2.4 acre site from the owner, Frank Bauer, for the particular use. The site is also, it has 2 additional buildings. One is a building, non-conforming building of record. It's located too close to the highway. It's advertised as a welding business. The second block building, I don't know what it's being used. It could be used as storage for the welding business as well. The applicant has met with staff, and they have been informed that they will have to go through the site plan review process. This area is commercial, and the surrounding properties, you've seen some commercial development occur over the past few years, as well as some rezonings and land use studies that have been prepared. This area at the intersection of Jefferson and Lebanon is becoming like a commercial node. And so the use itself should not be a deterrent for future development of this area. They will, a variance in 2005 was granted to the site for the use of gravel parking areas. Therefore, they probably will not be proposing asphalt parking. They are placing a mobile home or a mobile office trailer on the site to conduct the business. And in your packets, you were provided a site plan supplied by the applicant. Of course, the site plan that they submit for site plan review will be professionally drawn. They will have to meet the landscape requirements that were just established or adopted by the Board of County Commissioners last year. There is a fire hydrant located within 1,000 feet of the property, and staff has included the conditions for the board to consider when considering this application, and we recommend approval. And I'm just going to go through some aerial shots and photos of the property. So. Let me see. This is the site, surrounding areas. There's a plumbing business to the south. There's the site itself. Another portion of the site that's not being leased by the applicant. And then looking towards the intersection of Jefferson and Lebanon, and you'll see to the left the Walter Hill Shopping Center sign. And this is the existing non-conforming structure that houses the welding business on the site. And the hair salon, tanning salon across the street. And as you saw, we posted the sign. That concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request?
Mr. Chairman.
You'll come around, please.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for staff. I'd like to have some clarification. We've got one parcel of land, and we grant a conditional use for one use. And then we grant a conditional use for a second use, and we grant a conditional use for a third use on one parcel of land. How can we have 3 different conditional uses on one parcel of land when it's not subdivided or tracked off into individual parcels?
Well, actually, you'll see in recent applications, when someone goes through the trouble of rezoning the property, they'll often include a list of uses that would be compatible with each other. And so we do actually try to include a list, so if the use does change throughout time, they can switch back and forth, or those uses would be appropriate for that particular area. Those uses are being considered by the board at one time. Typically, you would have permitted uses in a commercial district where people don't have to ask for every single use that they want to establish on the property. However, because this property was rezoned back in 1972, there were no uses expressed for this property, and the zoning structure may have been set up slightly different. However, when the code that we use today is in place, we have to, if it's not specific in the old resolution that rezoned it, we have to at least take it before the board. And the reason that you're getting it is because the property is already commercial. The use is not that intensive, and so we deemed it a type 2 conditional use permit as opposed to going before the planning commission for type 3.
I don't think you understand. I don't have a problem with his request. It's take the welding business. We gave them a conditional use, and we would say you had to pave it. Now, on the same lot of record, we've got a landscape building that doesn't want to pay. And I thought our granting a variance or a conditional use applied to the entire parcel of land, the entire parcel, since it's not tracked off. I'm sorry, this doesn't affect your application, sir. But I did really need clarification because we've granted 3 conditional uses for one parcel of land. Each conditional use has a different set of standards.
And I understood your question. You mentioned conditional use. A conditional use just approves the use. The variances that are granted, if it's a variance request, then that's permanent with the property. But you could have several uses approved for a property. The variance is something that you'd want to consider, and if there were specific conditions placed on the application for a variance and the board granted a variance, then you would want to specify that it's for that particular use and that use alone. So, and you can in future applications for variances for gravel parking or landscaping.
Those are good questions, Linda. Did that get to the heart? It's still not what you want.
It's still not real clear because I think that we granted conditional use for a specific use that applies to that parcel, and now then we're going to be giving somebody else permission to do something totally different on the same parcel. Usually when we hear a request, it's parcel specific. It's not like a shopping center. It's across the street where you've got one building and several uses within that building. This is one big acreage tract, and you've got 2 or 3 different businesses on this one acreage tract, and each business has its own set of conditions or variances, and it's just unusual. And I just wanted to be sure that this is okay by our zoning standards.
This was heavily discussed amongst staff, and it was deemed okay.
Keith.
I just want to kind of get some clarification there too, but I think I understand. I know most of the conditional use permits that we hear are usually based on probably a residential RS-15 or something property, not this is commercial. So Danielle, would this be different? That's what I'm saying. This is zone commercial. That's not what we can't even consider that. We're just considering what use, and this is one of the uses that's allowed on commercial property, right?
Yes. We don't have specific uses that are permitted, but it was found that this particular use would be appropriate for the commercial zone. If someone came in and it was like a residentially zoned property, right, and they wanted to establish this type of business, they would have to get it rezoned specifically for this use to commercial.
Okay. I was trying to help Linda out here to make sure we understand. I understand. In other words, this parcel is, what, about 2.4 acres? So on this 2.4 acres, you're actually going to have a welding business, a plumbing business, and if we approve this business, and that complies with whatever codes we have set forth, that's okay?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the determination that was made.
Okay.
Okay. Let's give us your name and any additional information that you might want to share with the board about your request.
All right. My name is Chad Simpson, and we just started a little garden / retail / mom and pop store Just selling shrubs and mulch and nothing big at all, really, as you can see by the pictures.
Do we have any questions from the board? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it?
I'll make a motion to be approved.
Have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second?
I have a question first. Do we have any calls?
I've only had informational calls regarding this particular case.
I'll second the motion.
You second. We have a second to it. Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Linda Dansby,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Tony Webb,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
It is approved. The next item we have is a request by All American Contractors, and they have several requests concerning the fire hydrant, the paving, and what else? Landscaping. Okay.
Will we be requiring these as one or as three separate votes? So I'll be prepared.
They might want to break it down into three once they hear it.
Well, we'll probably break this one down as we get into it.
Application 2010-009 filed by All American Contracting. This property is located in Ronald Williams District, Commissioner Ronald Williams District, and it's located at 9536 Shelbyville Highway. It's a 3.3-acre parcel that is zoned transportation. And they are seeking variance relief from the development standard requiring a double bituminous surface for parking areas, relief from the standard requiring a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet of a development, and a variance from the development regulation requiring landscaping for a property to be located in a transportation zone. The site was rezoned from R20 to transportation in February 2002 and received the Type 3 conditional use permit for mini warehouses. They were, as part of that request, it was proposing 15 storage buildings measuring 24 by 48. They had supplied or submitted a site plan and it was approved for that development. However, it was never constructed. Therefore, the site plan approval has expired, and this year the applicant came in and indicated that they wanted to build one building and use it for storage. Because the original conditional use permitted storage, it was deemed that they could come before the board and that the use was consistent with the original conditional use, and they are seeking variances from the requirements in our development standards. They will only use it for storage. There will be no office, bathroom area, no employees will be based at the site, and there will be no customer traffic. It will not be open for customers walking into the business.
You say storage, this is personal storage?
That personal storage associated with a commercial activity.
Okay.
Okay. And the site plan in 2002 approved gravel parking. However, they will need to either pave or get variance approval for the use of gravel parking and access areas for the construction of this building. The fire hydrant variance requiring the standard requiring a fire hydrant to be located within 1,000 feet of the development. I contacted Consolidated Utility and they indicated that it would not be feasible for the applicant to install a fire hydrant because along that road frontage on Shelbyville, because the 2-inch water line that exists on that side of the highway could not accommodate or handle the pressure that's needed for a fire hydrant. They did indicate, though, that there was fire hydrants 1,800 feet and 1,400 in both directions of the property that could serve the use. The applicant is also seeking a landscaping requirement. He is just seeking a variance from the provision of any landscaping. The Board of County Commissioners approved new landscaping regulations that do provide for a process that if someone could not meet the standards in the landscaping provisions, they can submit an alternative plan to the staff and board for them to consider whether or not it satisfies the intent of having landscaping. We find that this will be a good method for the applicant to maybe submit a different plan other than what's required, and we don't find that he meets the criteria for variance for this particular standard. So in regards to the variance requests, all three, we find that the application does not meet it in its entirety. However, the fire hydrant request has been Consolidated Utility has indicated that it would not be feasible for the applicant to install a fire hydrant at this location. So I will just show you some aerials and photos of the site. I'll take less pictures next month. And this is a survey supplied by the applicant. He indicated the location of the one building that they're going to construct, which is significantly less than what has been approved for this property. And it will be set back pretty far off of Shelbyville Road. And that concludes our presentation.
Okay, do we have anyone here representing? Do you have a question for our staff again? Go ahead.
I do, again, Daniel. If the water line is large enough on the other side of the highway, why can't he put a fire hydrant in on the other side of the highway?
I don't know why Consolidated Utility didn't offer that as an option. I don't know if they're are they located in the right of way for the fire lines or water lines. Most likely
that
they
was
are,
just a question. You didn't ask them, so we don't.
No, I didn't.
Okay. A second thing, when that site was originally approved, was it approved without the fire hydrant?
Yes. Okay. Yes. In fact, the site plan brought a copy of the original site plan that had been approved, and it indicated that the fire hydrant was greater than 1,000 feet away.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions of the staff? Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you're not the public hearing yet, who is, if you're representing this request, come forward this time. If you'll give us your name and any additional information you might want to share with us.
Yes, sir. My name is Ron Bonata. I'm from Bedford County with All American Contracting. This site is owned by Mr. Mike Reeves Industrial Forklifts. Their business is located in Moore County or Lynchburg, Tennessee. Mike's business is principally he sells and services industrial equipment. His idea for the use of this property is to place rental equipment that he would serve local industry here in Rutherford County. He can service and access, for example, if a forklift breaks down at some plant, he can bring a piece of equipment out of his storage building here in Rutherford County quicker than he can go to Moore County and bring one to serve local industry. So this would be a pre-engineered metal building. It would have electricity, no water, no sewer, no employees, and it would be for the storage of rental equipment that would be used to serve industry here in Rutherford County.
Any questions?
You say rental equipment.
Yes.
Would there be any equipment sitting outside like lifts or anything like that?
I'm sure there would be forklifts, and yes, sir, I would think so.
So it's all types of rental equipment, generators, stuff like that, or just?
I don't think he rents generators, but he does handle industrial forklifts, is my understanding of his company.
is it just forklifts or is it jig lifts, lift-alofts? You know, a lot of different, there's different types of stuff used in industry. Is it just for forklifts?
I think his business is for forklifts, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? Linda?
Is it going to be secured? Are you going to have a fence to secure the equipment? Yeah.
I don't think he plans to build a fence.
Wow.
Unless it's required, you know, for him to do so.
Okay. Well, I guess I just want to voice a concern to the board. These variances requests that we're getting today on this might be appropriate for something that's unoccupied, doesn't have any customers or anything else, but I'm concerned about any future uses that might occur if they go back to the original site plan of adding more storage buildings. So I do think we need to keep in mind that even though the use of this application is low impact, the broader base could be a greater, may have customers coming, may open up as rental store at that point, and I am concerned about open storage or outside storage. I don't know that staff was aware of that. Michelle, were you aware of that?
We were not aware of any outdoor storage, that the storage would occur within the building, the structure itself.
Well, I don't honestly know if he's planning to store outside or not, but I mean, I would think he might. I mean, with a 3-acre tract of land, I would think that would be a possibility.
That is a possibility. That's their answer. Any other questions? Keith? No. Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing now for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you'll come forward to the podium, give us your name and any information you'd like to share. That's okay.
My name is Mary Gray Connors. I live in California. My brother, Aaron Burl Williams, lives out in that section, but our family home is directly opposite the parcel in question. And I feel that there should be a requirement for some planting, some screening. We have property immediately to the right of that on his side of the highway, and then a number of acres immediately across the road. And my cousin owns the parcel just next. I really thought you'd be here today, but we would like some screening, some planting, so that it just doesn't make Highway 231 look all gobbledygook stuff. Yes, thank you.
Wait just a minute. Do anyone have any questions? They may have some questions for you. So.
Did you say you own the property to the south?
To the south and across the road. Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Anyone else want to speak on this request? Commissioner Williams, come forward. It's always good to see you up here.
Well, I enjoy my monthly meeting.
I just want to talk about two things about this. First, the water line out there. We have had some 5 or 6 or 7 that I'm aware of about the 2-inch water line out there. And the information that we've had over the series of this is they could put one in, but they would have to color code it differently. And if it were used improperly, then it would suck all the water out of everybody else's houses. From Fosterville on is the short version of what CUD has said in the past when we've looked at small subdivisions and other things out there about putting in the fire hydrant. So I don't know why that is, but that's what they've said repeatedly when we've had many different things that have come up in that little quadrant out there that runs from Midland. So until they get a bigger water line, it's just not feasible according to Larry McElroy. And the other thing is, I've only had calls about the screening, the buffering is the only thing, and the appearance and what the storage is going to be, since we generally require some type buffering on that. But those are the only calls that I've had about that. So,
any questions? Joe?
I believe this could look like a junkyard. I believe the forklifts, if they are storing broke down trucks, or this could look just like a junkyard. In my opinion. What do you think about that?
well, today was the first I've heard anything about outside storage. So I think typically we require them not to have outside storage. And if they do have outside storage, then it comes under different criteria to have the buffers on there. So
they go in and out of these plants and get forklifts, they bring them broke down trucks back to that area, in my opinion. And they can be all those guys. If I own property, I'd have a problem.
well, that was the concerns, the calls that I've had about the buffering and the fences and that, because we have a tendency in some areas to let that happen. So that was the biggest concern that we had about that. So I don't know how you hadn't necessarily remedied that, but that's all the calls that I've had on it.
Mr. Chairman, do you have a recommendation?
A recommendation? Well, to approve it, but we need to make sure that all the buffers and no outside storage to the extent and is fine. I mean, everybody's, the gravel parking lot, that's fine, and everything else, but that buffering and where it's going to look real bad is a big concern. I mean, we don't want to not have some business out there, because we need this in the county, but it needs to look okay. So that would be, approve it with putting in the standards or a better plan that we can work through on that too.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, Mr. Chairman, not for him. I just have a comment.
Wait just a minute. Anyone else would like to speak on this? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Keith?
I just have some comments I want to make, and I kind of goes along with what Linda said. I think this, what they're proposing here is probably going to be a low impact. Not going to be office there, it's just going to be for storage. But not only on this highway, but I think we've had some others, and always brings up some concerns, especially in a commercial type area like that. I mean, I don't know who's going. Well, for sure, CUD's going to have to address it, but I think we need to be cautious when we, in the future, when we approve any type of commercial type structures out there without them having adequate water supply. If they have some of these buildings in a commercial area like that have a big fire load. This building will, if it's going to have forklifts in it. And so anyway, I think we need to be cautious about that. And I don't know if our staff here with the planning department needs to address CUD about they're going to have to upgrade their water lines for we're going to start approving any more commercial stuff in those areas.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I just
go ahead.
I agree. I mean, maybe some areas aren't ready for commercial development if it can't support those types of facilities. However, your question about the outside storage, because that was not even brought up in the application, I did refer back to the original conditional use. Our code specifically prohibits outdoor storage unless expressly permitted. That is not, it's not expressly permitted in the original conditional use, so therefore he would not be entitled to having any outdoor storage based on the way the code is written now and the conditions that were approved as part of the original conditional use.
Good, very good. Any other questions on this point? Okay. Go ahead, Joe.
That car dealership, say on the back of the highway about 3/4 mile on the right, and they could not put a car out and because the water company would not put the water line.
Yeah.
Did that earlier this year.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments, questions? All right. We're going to take these one at a time. First will be the fire hydrant. Do we have a motion on that? Let's break this down.
Mr. Chairman, you're talking about the variance of them not having to put in a fire hydrant?
Yes.
Well, I think unfortunately, I guess the applicant's hands are kind of tied because It's in our minute, I mean, it's in the application that they contacted CUD and they can't provide it. So based upon that, I make a motion we grant the variance.
Okay, we have a motion that we approve the fire hydrant, as I understand it.
Yes, sir, to grant them the variance and not have to install the fire hydrant based upon the letter from CUD saying that they
Okay, do we have a second?
Right.
Did you second, Tony?
I'll second it.
Did you, Linda?
Yes.
Okay, Linda, second. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Linda Dansby,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Tony Webb,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Present, yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Okay, the next item will be the paved parking. Now, that's a standard that he was going to have to meet, so do we have a motion on that?
I make a motion to approve for this use only and that it would need to be reconsidered upon any change of use.
Okay, have a motion that it be approved.
I'll second.
And we have a second. Did you get that?
I need to get it written down, but I do have it.
Call the roll, please.
I just got some discussion. You got a discussion about it. What we're considering here is just the parking, or is this the whole application? Just the parking. Okay.
Yeah. Call the roll.
You might want to just say for the construction of this one building, because the use itself is approved, and the use itself included 15 buildings at one point. And I remember your discussion, you were talking about the fact that the one building is
Well, I
low
think
impact.
that's what was your motion, wasn't it? For this one building.
He's asking for the variance, the use at the mini storage. So we want to make sure that the right language is in the final order.
I'm
not trying
approving
to
the
confuse
variance
things.
for this one request.
Okay.
And if the use or adds any more buildings, then we're going to have to, or changes the use, and we'll have to reconsider the gravel.
Okay.
Hopefully that's clear.
Yes, ma'am. I understood what you said. I just want it on the record.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Linda Dansby,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Tony Webb,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next one is a variance which was requiring landscaping. Jerry?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we defer, or that we ask this to be turned over to the new regulations where they have to submit an alternate plan. So we would deny the request.
Go ahead.
He got it.
Okay.
I want to make sure I understand your...
We're denying the request to delete the landscaping. So
Second.
that we'll go through
Got a
the
second.
alternate process.
Okay, we got you. Got a second. Any discussion? It's a little complicated here. Call the roll, please. Did you get that?
I got it.
Okay.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Linda Dansby,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Tony Webb,
Yeah.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. That concludes our business. Is there anything else
Did you
we
want
need?
to go back to the minutes, or are we going to wait until next month?
The minutes, we need to go back to the minutes, okay.
Or decide to wait until next month? It's your pleasure.
Do we have a motion?
So moved, as presented.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Wait
Those
just a minute.
opposed, like sign.
What was your motion, to approve them or to defer them
Approved as
to?
presented, yes,
Approve the
ma'am.
minutes. Does that satisfy you?
Who was the second?
Got it?
Got it.
Okay, it's all approved. Any other items, anything else that needs to come before the board? Thank you so much for those of you that are here. Appreciate you being here. And we stand adjourned. Thank you.